Alright, today I'm going to be covering Adventures in the Eastmark, which is a retro clone. Now, original D&D was difficult. It started with 3 books in a box set, but they kept coming up with expansions and expansions, and it got to be a complicated mess. So Eric Holmes made this version for his kids, a simplified version. Only went up to level 3, and TSR bought it and they published it, so I was able to get it. And then a few years later they came out with another version of the basic set called by Moldave, and a companion one by Cook called the Expert Set. And then a couple of years after that, Metzinger wrote a more comprehensive version, which started with a basic set for 1st through 3rd level, and then there were other sets all the way up to the Immortal rules. But the basic sets for Moldave and Metzinger were red, and the Metzinger one got translated very badly into a bunch of languages and published all over the world, so it was the best-selling version of D&D. And yeah, so I said it was translated badly. And so in Spain, they looked at it and tried to make sense of it and made up their own game based on what they could understand. And they took some stuff from other games. And so they published this retro clone, and then they made a translation into English. So this is a translation in English of a Spanish game based on a badly translated Metzinger game. And so I got this as to try to evaluate how good of a gift would this be for a child as their first edition to D&D. So, well, for one thing, it was really expensive, and it was expensive to import because it was classified as a game and not a book, so that made it expensive. Now let's look inside. Okay, so first of all, I got a set of dice, which I didn't get in home, so I'm glad to have that. And it came with a, let's turn this around, a Eastmark pencil here. So it comes with a pencil. That's handy. And I've seen somebody else's unboxing video where they got a t-shirt with theirs. I'm sure kids would love that. So it does come with a DM screen. Let's unfold the whole thing. See, here's this 3-fold. It's not too tall, so people can look over it here. You know, the DM can look over it at the players, but it's brown with black print, which makes it hard to read. You know, when you're in the middle of a combat, you need to be able to read really quickly. That's kind of hard to read. So it comes with this book, which I will pull out of here. And on the back of the book is the player's character sheet. 1-page character sheet. And I copied a bunch of that, so I've got some copies here of it. That's what that is left in the box. So let's look through this. Okay, so here's a map of their game world, which I didn't really look at because I'm satisfied by my own game world, so I want to be surprised if I ever run in this game world. So, but I've heard it's derivative of Tolkien and not very original, which I'm sorry to hear because. So here's the introduction here. And it tells you how to play, and it's pretty easy to understand. Goes into all the different parts about how to play, and then we get to the classes. The adventure classes. Okay, so let's get it to focus. So first we have Cleric, which have 6-sided hit dice, not 8 like I'm used to. But I think Metzinger had 8. I think that's why that is. And they can turn undead. And they have spells starting at first level, which they didn't have at homes, so that's good. The dwarf has 8-sided hit dice. It raises class, this is a dwarf class. The elf class, which is like a fighter magic user, have 6-sided hit dice, and they can do up to 5th level spells. They can get up to 10th level, have level limits too. The Explorer class is this game's version of the Ranger. It's basically the Ranger, and they have 8-sided hit dice. Now, the Halfling has 6-sided hit dice, and they're basically a lesser version of the Fighter. You'd only want to play a Halfling for role-playing reasons and not because of some mechanical advantage. Now, the Mage is this game's version of the Magic User. No surprise. And they have 4-sided hit dice. The Paladin has 8-sided hit dice. There's the Paladin here. So they clearly looked at other editions when they were making up this game. It's really close to the D&D I'm familiar with. Almost identical. The Thief has 4-sided hit dice. That's a surprise. That makes him pretty weak. And their Thief's abilities. Steel has replaced picking pockets. They have move silently, climb walls, hide in shadows, hear noise, find and remove traps, and at higher levels comprehend languages and use scrolls, just like first edition, pretty much. And there's a class called the Warrior, which has 10-sided hit dice, and they are this game's version of the Fighter. Okay, so we get into equipment, and there are pictures, in case you don't know what this stuff looks like. Very easy to use. And it gets into combat. And here's a monster reaction chart. Okay, so it puts the roll to hit chart. Everybody's on one thing, with this column being clerics and thieves, this one being dwarves, elves, explorers, halflings, paladins, and warriors, and this one being mages. But one thing that it does differently is it makes the roll to hit horizontal and backwards. So 9 is the worst armor class, and -6 is the best one, and it has the repeating 20s, but on the worst one, there's 7 repeating 20s. I think 20 might be the best, it might be a 20s hit always, which I didn't like in some of the games I've been in. Here's one for monsters. Okay, so I'm having trouble holding the book open here. So the art looks really good on computer, but when I see it printed on brown paper, it looks sort of muddy. Look at the cover. This picture is really awesome on computer, and seeing it in real life, it's kind of muddy. But, you know, it's got all the information on how to run. It's got spells are grouped according to class and level. So all the first level mage spells are together. All the first level cleric spells are here together. So you can just open the book and there are your spells. Really easy to use. Here's some more about how to run adventures. And some magic items and treasure that you could put in your campaign with pictures of some of them. And then we get to the monster manual sections. Yeah, here's all the monsters, including some demons. So they're not listed. Demons are listed according to type here. So as said, the monsters. The brown paper makes the art not look as good as it otherwise could. The gelatinous cube does not look so clear. harpy, a witch, a werewolf, manticore, trouble turning pages and holding it open for you so you can see it, and it won't focus. Now, my other device is much better at taking pictures, but it won't take them sideways. I had a lot of complaints about in the early days of doing this. Okay, so then it goes into the game world of Eastmark. As I said, I've not read this, and there's even a sample dungeon, and I've not read that because if I ever run in this, I want to be surprised. But from what I've heard, it's very derivative of Tolkien, not very original. But I guess you want that in your first introduction to a game system. So that is Adventures in Eastmark, which I would say it's got its faults, but I would recommend this as a gift to a child as their first introduction to role-playing games. It's really close to the D&D I know.